Hard to do. All right, so that's a heck of a way to walk into the show. I'm just grooming, making myself look better than you. All right, so
I don't think they heard that part.
Sure they did. I actually think they did. But anyway, hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. The podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. Let's let our guest, Mr. Mike Lafferty, introduce himself. Can you tell us a little about yourself for the listening audience?
Sure. My name is Mike Lafferty. I run the BAMF podcast. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook. Also painting goat games because podcasting wasn't keeping me busy enough. I am not a veteran, except I did hit the rank of Eagle Scout when I was in high school. So, I got that going on.
I watched Red Dawn. That is a paramilitary organization.
It is a paramilitary organization. We got the marksmanship merit badge. Anyway, so yeah.
I object. I was in Girl Scouts and all we had was sucky stuff.
Yeah. Well, Boy Scouts is co-ed now.
I know, but I'm a little old to join. So.
All right. And Walt Robillard, can you introduce yourself to people who don't know who you are?
Hi, I'm Walt Robillard, and if you don't know who I am, drink some more coffee till your eyes glaze over, and then you will.
Okay, that is the uniquest introduction we've had so far. I didn't think you could top your last ones, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go listen to his episodes, people. We got a back catalog going on. So the next part of the Doc, you're muted if you're saying anything vital.
He doesn't top Mel Todd's introduction of herself on the Aliens Fireside.
Well, you should listen to that one too, people. So the next part of the introduction, dear listeners, how we first met them. So I'll go first. So I actually met Walt in the super secret leg dojo of the Gruntastic Brotherhood, but we had to kick him out for not recognizing that leg lives matter. But before he left with his bad boys, he introduced us to the legendary game designer Mike Lafferty, and that's how I met both of them. Is that about right, Walt?
With a very simple keystroke, I can find out your exact address if you hadn't already given it to me.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you already have my mailing address.
I will be sending my people over shortly.
Panel van. That sounds like a good time. All right. And
are you sending him pizzas, Walt? What are you doing?
I'm going to send him a very large deputy with a very angry dog.
How about some pineapple on pizza?
Hell no. What kind of heresy is that?
Pineapple on pizza is only good if you add bacon and jalapenos.
And all fairness, bacon makes everything better. So, Doc, how did you find these two lovely gentlemen?
Well, I met Mike today through you. Amazingly enough, JR does know people. And Grandpa Walt is Grandpa Walt, and that's why I know him.
It's true.
All right. So, before we get this started and we talk about what we brought you here for, Doc, you got to ask him the religion questions because we just can't skip those.
No, we can't, because that is what religion is about. So, Venom, Suicide Squad, or the Justice League?
Movies or comics?
Either. Dealer's choice.
All right. Let's go movies to keep it simple because comics gets complicated. And I will say Suicide Squad of the most recent films. Walt, over to you.
Comics, and I'm going to slightly adjust Agent Venom.
Oh,
okay.
One of the best comics renditions on both Venom and of taking a nobody character that nobody cared if anybody threw him into the middle of an IED, and finding out that he was in one, and to kind of reinvigorate both those characters. They smushed them together and made Agent Venom, and I thought it was a really cool way to take those two characters and kind of give them a new jam.
And the reason we picked the comics is because if you didn't know, and we'll list it in the show notes, they both co-host on occasion the BAMF podcast, where they talk nerdy about all things comic and sci-fi and spec fic and all the other cool things.
They already referenced BAMF. JR, your head trauma's getting in the way again.
We should get JR a Venom symbiote. Could you imagine that?
If we're giving those out, I would like one too.
Could you imagine that? I mean, that scene from the movie where he's like lungs, eyes, pancreas. JR would be like donuts, fluffy cakes.
You know me so well. All right, Doc, move this along before they mock me more.
Oh, but we could do an entire hour of that. So, fantasy religion, Dungeons and Dragons, Dragonlance, The Gamer's Dorkness Rising, or Maze and Monsters.
I put RPG and movies into a thing, and that's what we came up with.
Well, why don't you go first on this one?
Oh my God, the spectacular suckiness of the Dungeons and Dragons movie is so epic that
It's so epic it makes it good.
it makes it good. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm going with.
There's some room for cringe. All
There's
right,
a lot
Mike.
of cringe in that movie. In The Gamer's Darkness Rising, there's a scene where he backstabs someone in a bar with a ballista. That's a lot of fun. I'll have to go with that one.
Well,
Okay.
you should test that to see if it's even possible on your podcast.
No, man, I just high explosives. I don't mess with big bow and arrows.
All right. So we're going to skip right past the getting to know you questions because they've both been on the podcast before, and Mike is a busy, popular man. He has a meeting later today with the CIA. We don't want to know what that's about. You don't want to know. It's a feigning games thing, feigning goat games. But let's just jump right in. So, Mike Lafferty, can you give us a Reader's Digest of what you're known for before we start talking about the products?
Midwestern salsa dancing champion in the Husky Caucasian division.
Wait,
Very important to say that last bit. It's a contractual obligation, actually. But beyond that, I've been
can
running
we
the
get JR into the Husky division?
I don't think I'm small enough for that yet, but give me some time.
He doesn't qualify as Husky yet. More donuts will handle that.
No, I'm saying I'm too big for, whatever's bigger than Husky. It was the joke, but it's okay.
Gotcha. Rubenesque. Zeph taken. All right. The BAMF podcast, I've been doing it for 10 years. Mainly it's like geeky public access television, if that's not redundant. We talk comics, we talk gaming. Occasionally we do movie reviews. Have Walt on a lot. We have fun. We've been doing a regular Monday game that we also stream onto the Sci-Fi Writers Play Old School D&D, which I believe you appeared on, if I'm not mistaken, JR.
I have.
And we play various games. Right now we're playing Morkborg. It's a very, very dark, old school Swedish D&D hack where horrible things happen. I think 2 characters died in our first game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you make them meet God and defend their actions when they die?
It's like Swedish death metal dark. I don't think there is a god, and if you meet him, he's probably
Trying to eat you anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's probably an arthritic badger who's upset that you're in the room with them.
What's really funny is those guys have 2 Kickstarters running right now for 2 different separate new versions of the game. They have Porkborg, which is like shredded meat supplement, and then they have Orkborg, where you get to play the Orc Horde.
Orkborg it sounds like we're the Swedish chef here. It's run by a guy named Grant Howitt, who, if you remember Honey Heist, which we also ran on our podcast, the story about the bears pulling crimes. That's his game. And I think someone else is doing Spaceborg right now. So it's the new popular indie RPG designer thing. And I run Feigning Goat Games or Feigning Goat Press. Publish a lot of stuff. Listen to this podcast, probably most familiar with The After, because we almost did an anthology a few years back and then pulled the plug on at the last minute and pissed everybody off. Sorry. That was our post-apocalyptic setting for Savage Worlds. I've been publishing for 10 years. I could bore you with all the things I've been doing. What we are doing right now, Walt talked me into doing a science fiction anthology a few years ago. And it was your idea, man. You talked me into all this shit. I don't know why I listened to you. And Walt also had this idea that we could talk to the guy who used to run the White Star RPG, James Michael Spahn. Hell of a guy. Great dancer. And he had a lot of unpublished material for White Star. White Star.
Really all my ideas?
Yeah, this is all. For a guy who doesn't drink, you have a shitty memory, Walt. Yes.
Because he doesn't sleep either, and that helps with memory formation and sticking.
That could be it. So
Well, there is one thing I do remember.
what's that?
Do you know that you and I have been doing the podcast together? You brought me on in 2005, 2006.
Oh my God. How long is that? Do the math.
That's quite a long time. Almost 20 years, bro.
Now I want to go back on your first episode and see what it looks like, what Walt looked like back then.
No, it was all audio back then.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
there was no video. Yeah.
Cool.
In my mind's eye, he's always looking like this, but I
Come on, JR. Even when we started, it was only video.
This is true.
It was
This is
no
true.
video. The video thing is new.
Yeah. Relatively
Yeah.
speaking.
His brain damage keeps him from remembering things. He has a good excuse.
So before we move on to the product that he hinted at,
Yes.
Walt, can you tell the audience what you are known for besides coffee and salsa dancing?
Full contact Scrabble.
Do you win?
Every time.
What's
Every
the best
time.
word you've used to win?
The best
Black.
word I've used to win? No.
There you go.
See?
You heard it here first, people.
That's exactly what happened when I used that word.
They don't let me play Scrabble. My spelling is that bad.
You're just creative in your spelling. That's not bad
I
spelling.
am
It's
creative in my spelling. It
creative.
helps that I just don't care anymore.
All right,
No.
Doc.
President Andrew Jackson said it's a damn poor mind that can only think of one way to spell a word.
Hey, JR, you want a rare treat?
What's that?
Share my screen.
All right. Wow. I have seen that picture before. Did you beat the person up who took that picture?
Slightly after it was taken.
I figured. So, Doc,
Wow.
you get to bring.
Okay. So all those found absolutely fascinating, but strangely enough, you didn't mention why we're here today, which is the Blaster Bolts eZine. Where did you get the premise for this e-book magazine? Is it an e-magazine or an e-book?
Well, it's a zine in ebook form.
Fair.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. If we're gonna throw jargon around.
Fair. Good luck with the Hugos on trying to catalog that.
Oh,
They have an eZines section.
do they?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Basically, we've been talking about writing for years, and Walt does it much more prolifically and successfully than I do. But for a while I was banging my head against the short story marketplace for science fiction because there's not many venues anymore, and the ones that there are out there are kind of hard. Doc, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay, just checking in. I was afraid we're losing you there for a second.
No.
Okay.
I was up at 6 a.m., but no, not yet.
Okay.
I had coffee.
Cool. So the idea was, why don't we do something ourselves and kind of do it with like a 70s Western, sci-fi Western kind of feel, sort of. I'm not going to say it happened, these looking for stories set in a place where there are both wars and stars, but not that we're not looking for that, and that was kind of the aesthetic. And we thought it might be fun. And it's something different for us than just publishing RPGs all the time, which at that point was most of our creative output, although Walt has gone on to work for a thriving career in fiction now. So good for him. So that's
books, bro.
Yeah.
How many?
So, well,
Did you say how many books, Walt?
Wargate books.
Oh, I thought you said so many books. I was like, oh, okay.
I don't think Walt can give us the real number because of all the ghostwriting.
And
true.
he doesn't count Chuck Tingle novels because he's technically not him. We're not saying he's him, but we're not saying it.
Bigfoot erotica.
Chuck Dingle
You know
is
what? That is not the weirdest or only time I've ever heard that term.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck Tingle is a genius businessman who's making tons of money right now. So we can mock him, but he found his niche and he is servicing it.
You might say he's driving it home.
Ouch.
Edit it.
I'm sorry. All right.
I once saw a guy do a stand-up routine, 30 minutes long. It was entirely blockbuster movie titles converted to sound like porn movie titles.
That's not hard.
That
I see what you did there.
That was 30 minutes. Anyway, that's it reminded me of that. Sorry. Completely irrelevant tangent. So that's where we came from. Blaster Bolts. Issues 1 and 2 are out now, both with stories by this guy over here. Sorry, I forgot. I was trying to point east and I pointed west instead. So,
It's okay.
Yep, there is that. Picture is by a friend of ours, Joe Singleton, who alas has slipped off the mortal coil. But look at that samurai android. Who doesn't love a samurai android?
It's glorious. So was there any specific thing that inspired this this particular image?
Walt.
Yeah.
If Walt did, I could see it.
I asked him to draw it. I said I need a samurai robot. This is what he should look like, and I need his apprentice, which should look like this.
Okay. So you basically said do, and he did. Got it. All right, and then there's the other. There we go. Let's see if it. The other image that we got for the second cover.
That is J.E. Shields, who's a friend of ours, and that's stock art actually, but it's kind of a glorious piece, and it fit with Walt's story pretty well, so I went with that.
It kind of reminds me of like the 1980s Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that, yeah.
So, the movie that killed everybody.
Okay. So you said this is an eZine, and I know you publish, you write short stories, and you also publish game content. So what all can they expect if they open up this digital magazine, this eZine, if you will? What all can they expect to find in these magazines? This
electronic magazine contains, we open up with the fiction, in this case, 2 of Walt's stories for issues 1 and 2. If your viewers who are watching the video can see our glorious 1970s Kenner-riftic design aesthetic on the cover. And after the story, there's some short game content, sometimes a new class, sometimes an adventure, sometimes both. And then in the back, we try to finish up with some fake ads, for action figures or snack cakes, like you might see if you were reading, Marvel Comics Star Wars line back in the 70s. I think this issue has both a comic ad, a humorous ad for a action figure, and a snack cake ad like they used to have in comic books back in the day. So is the White Star system, is that its own system, or is that built off something else, for those who don't know? Walt, you want to handle that one?
What's it? Repeat the question.
He's asking, where does White Star come from? What is White Star?
So White Star started as somebody's love letters. James Michael Spawn is the original author. There's several different versions that culminated eventually into a collected edition. The collected edition is called the Galaxy Edition, and it's pretty expansive as far as science fiction gaming goes. But what he wanted to do was he took the most basic version of a game called Swords and Wizardry, which is kind of like old school D&D with the serial numbers filed off. And they took that white box edition, and he took Star Wars and basically filed off the serial numbers. Put it through a garage full of Russians in tracksuits, and got it back as White Star. And the benefit of playing this game is it's very simple. It's highly customizable, and you can basically do a lot with it. But those people who are familiar with like the old school stuff from back in the day, they'll be familiar with it, so they can just jump into it no problem. But it's also easy enough that new players can pick it up very, very simply and quickly. So, yeah, that's
so. How is it a D20 based system?
Yes, because it's based off of the 1978 rules before Dungeons and Dragons became Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
So THACO is not an evil thing to calculate for this?
So the thing that when the creators put the game together, excuse me, one of the things they did was they kind of put their vision going forward, and they said, something, some of the old timers who are going to pick this up are going to really want their descending armor class, that Thaco whole thing. And then they also said that there were going to be people who were kind of forward facing, and they're going to want an ascending armor class. Because if you play the original game, the lower your number,
The better.
the better it is, and you have to get a higher number to hit it. So new players were coming in, and they were getting kind of confused because, you know, we know that after the 1990s, math and curriculum like that went out the window in public education. So, you know.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Public school math, I get that.
You know what?
The math rocks don't always like us.
It's true.
I'll tell you a funny story afterwards, Walt. It'll make you very.
So the designers, what they did was they put two types of armor class on top of each other. The ascending armor class basically starts you with a number, your armor adds to it, and you have to get over that number to hit, rolling that 20-sided die. It's a little quicker to figure out. You're not looking at tables to try and be like, well, he's got a -2 and I need to get a 19, but this bonus says I blah 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 blah. You know, you're not doing that. You're just looking at a number and going, wow, he's got a 13. I got to roll higher than that. So there's not really THACO anymore, you know, to hit armor class 0, that being what that stands for. So
Yeah.
it's what do you call it? It's fairly simple, you know, the game mechanics. And what it did was it kind of revitalized and brought in a lot of people to that old school style of gaming, because up to that point, we've had right around the time that this was released, 5th edition had just come out, and it's very complex, you know, with a lot of whatever that goes into it. They had just come off of 4th edition, which was basically like World of Warcraft with dice.
Yeah.
So this was a hearkening back to those old games where it was like you had 6 stats, a couple of numbers you had to remember, and that was it. A pencil and a piece of paper, and your character was only fully realized when the pizza stains and coffee and eraser marks were really embedded into the sheet. You know, so it's that kind of thing. Versus, listen, we may have to make sure all my saving throws hit today because I spent 47 minutes on this write-up and I bought a $30 miniature, which I'm going to paint during the session. I can't die.
Hey, you're not allowed to paint miniatures during the session, before or after, not during.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Oh no, I'm not surprised. That was just the rule in my house.
Gotcha. But yeah, that's where White Star came from.
Okay.
No. I am the result of what happens when gamers keep the kid.
That is good to know, Doc. But so since we would normally pause at this point for a ad spot, but we have the great Blaster Bolts creators here. We're gonna let them read their commercial. So Mike's prepared.
They can do as good as an official narrator.
Yeah, oh, it's gonna be better. It's Mike Lafferty of Fading Goat Games.
So we're improving something here. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I warned you like 5 minutes before we went live. So is it technically improv?
I suppose not. I would like to point out at this point that both of these stories take place in the Hunter's Moon fictional setting from the Walt Robillard series of novels, The Mongrel.
I just want to know
Robot Dog.
What?
Huh?
Yep. Robot Dog.
Murder Dog.
What's going on with the apostrophes? See on the screen? There's a comma and an apostrophe in between the S.
Oh, I think that is actually just the
chrome spacing.
Yeah, that's the chrome beneath the words.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
For a second there, it looked like a comma. I was like, wow, somebody got confused.
Grandpa's eyes are failing.
That's true. Only close, though.
I mean, if you snorted as much coffee beans as he had, you know, it happens.
Not lying.
So, since Doc didn't read the question I put for her in the chat because we're ad-libbing this for you guys because
I like to ignore you.
Oh, okay. Is our stuff compatible?
Yeah, no, I was actually going to ask that. But first, we were going to let him do the commercial, dumbass.
He just did. He said it's for Walt Robillard's system, the Murder Dogs.
Okay. Are we going to improv a commercial?
You want me to get it?
Hey, Walt, do you ever get that not so fresh feeling?
All the time.
Do you know what would help that, buddy?
Please tell me. I am very intrigued.
Blaster Bolts, a science fiction e-zine, also called an electronic magazine.
Well, Mike, please tell me more.
Well, blaster bolts will help you with that lack of freshness you may occasionally experience by injecting both science fiction and gaming content directly into your cerebral cortex, along with amusing comics and fake ads in the back.
Well, Mike, I didn't realize I needed all that in my life. It could account for some of this discomfort I'm feeling. Could you please tell me a little more?
Sure will, buddy. You can find it on Drive-Thru RPG or Drive-Thru Fiction, and you can get both issues for less than $2. Less than the
Wow.
price of a fancy coffee.
Or that cream that might help. But instead, I'm going to buy blaster bolts.
Well, if you send in 7 proof of purchases from Blaster Bolts, we'll send you some of that cream.
Nice.
Is that a good commercial? Are we all right?
How was
That was fabulous. Best commercial of the
Best
year.
commercial ever. I might even see if I can clip that and put that on for an actual sponsorship commercial.
Can you tell that we've been working together? Mike and I have been working together for a little while.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
glorious.
We got that timing.
So we know that we've talked about how the math of this works, but is it compatible to other gaming systems?
I'm going to defer to Walt because I've played a little bit of White Star. He's played a lot more. I would think it's going to fit with an awful lot of stuff that's from the OSR, anything affiliated, with
Okay.
old school D&D can probably work without too much trouble. It'll probably work with 5e with a little bit of jury rigging. Walt, what do you think?
It's all white box compatible. So
Okay.
any Swords and Wizardry white box, any of the old school style games like Old School Essentials, which is on Kickstarter now. That probably an easy fit. Any of those older games will be able to do it. Castles and Crusades, of course. With a little work, you could make it compatible with Swords and Wizardry Complete, which is a little closer to the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons, with a lot of the cleanup they didn't do. So it's very cross compatible to multiple systems of old school fantasy games. The one thing I would warn is when you start getting above second edition D&D of the advanced D&D, you're going to have to start really working to make this work, because they started adding a lot of stuff. 3.5 and 3.5 added feats and skills and stuff like that. Fourth edition added hourly, daily, minutely, and freaking everything else.
So with some skill and some know-how, the editions published in the early aughts and stuff will work, but you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
Which, to be honest, you want a DM who knows what they're doing. There is a quality difference.
It's true.
So go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say these first two novels are set in the Hunter Moon's universe. Are you going to keep everything in Hunter's Moon, or are you going to expand out?
I wish we could have, but Walt is just one man. He's already doing the work of like 3 men, if you're familiar.
He's not a man, he's a beast.
He's a beast.
Snarl, growl, hiss.
So I have got a bunch of writers, including Mr. JR on this podcast, who has submitted 2 stories that we'll be running. And we are going to be, cycling through different authors. We've got... Yeah, so I wish we could have done it all on Hunter's Moon because it's a great setting. Unfortunately, Walt is a mere mortal, and he could not write all of our stories for us. So JR has contributed 2. Various other folks. We've got Terry Mixon's old story Warfish.
Yes, he was very excited. He was telling me about it.
That's we got to get covered that one too.
I have been bugging him forever to put that back in print. That is one of the best short stories I've ever written. And you were in for a treat when you read that one, people. I'm serious. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be issue 5 or 6, so it should be out in a couple weeks. But
I sent 3. Who else did you get, you said, besides Terry?
I'm trying to remember. We got one of the Starfinder writers.
I think Mel Todd submitted.
Mel Todd, Flame to the Rescue. We've got her story.
I did read it.
Yeah, we're trying to get that into layout right now. I say one of the writers from Voyager. We've got a story from them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I get. We've really just been really blessed with some of the talent that we've got, and I wrote a story myself that I'm going to run way at the end of a few weeks from now. After all the good stories run, then that they'll be mine.
So, for those authors or fans who are listening, who are like, "This is so cool, I want to participate," you're coming out with these once a month, right?
We're changed up to once a week for the time being. Try to build some
Ooh,
momentum.
nice.
So last 2 weeks have been waltz, and then we got another one coming out on Monday or Tuesday of this next week.
So can somebody just decide, I'm just going to give you all of my money right now, and so I get the complete run and I don't have to come back every week?
Well, what's going to happen once we get we got 7 or 8 issues laid out. Once we get all of those out, we're going to email everyone who's bought an issue and say, hey, we're going to point you at this Kickstarter. We're going to do a big omnibus edition. And you can give us all your money there and get everything, in one handy PDF and maybe even print on demand.
Nice.
So people who haven't bought them yet, but that want to participate in the Kickstarter later, because I know some of our older listeners who do not like ebook because reasons, and they wanted to say, this sounds really cool. I would like to get the print copy whenever it comes. Is there somewhere or newsletter or something they could sign up for so they would get notified even if they hadn't bought the eZines?
If they follow us on Facebook or Twitter, we'll make the announcement when it goes out, and hopefully we'll have the Kickstarter landing page up in the next month or so. We can put people there.
And the other thing is we can make sure that we share it in our group on Facebook. So
I know
I might know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There are some traditionalists who only read Dead Tree editions of things.
You know what? Don't knock my Dead Tree editions. I love them. I cuddle up with them. Leave me alone. I have no life.
You guys argue a lot. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's part of our charm. People come to listen to us bicker. So
this is actually not even us arguing.
So you mentioned that this is the guy that wrote the White Star had a bunch of unpublished content. So at a certain point, will you get to publishing all of his content and then be creating new White Star, or will this run out when his content runs out?
He's writing a new piece for us right now. He had a book he was going to finish that was like halfway done before he decided to move on to other projects. And we're working through all that material, and he had an idea for an in-game sport, I think called Starball, and he was working up that article for us. So I don't know. Right now White Star is owned by Gallant Knight Games, and they are cool people. Our love language is bickering. It seems to be. And they own it, they publish it, they're doing cool stuff with it. We're just putting out some more material to help support it and wave the flag and keep the line alive, if you will. So
now the other thing too is that if you go to Barrel Rider Games or you go to Gallant Knight Games to the Barrel Rider section on Drive-Thru RPG, James Michael Spahn, the originator of White Star, actually did a card game. So if you are a fan of George Lucas's universe, there's a card game in that called Sabak, and it's what Han Solo originally won and then lost the Millennium Falcon in. James did a game very similar. So you can find that on in there as well. So if you're into stuff like that, like cool little in-game mini games and stuff like that, go check out some of that stuff, because he's got it all done up, and you can even order it as like a complete card set, like physical cards as well.
Oh, neat!
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. I have my copy over there somewhere, but I'd have to dumpster dive to go get it.
So do you help the authors if they're not familiar with the game system to kind of put things in terms for the game system?
Nope. The fiction is completely separate from the game stuff. Except for Walt's 2 stories are pretty, interlocked. But everybody else, here's the science fiction, here's the game stuff. Have fun, kids. And here's the thing. I would have loved to do a more tightly connected like that. And maybe in next edition we will. But this time around, we just thought it would be kind of fun to have stories along with gaming content like Dragon Magazine used to do back in the day. So that's kind of what we were going for.
So are you at any point in time going to make this like a subscription service where they could sign up and just automatically get it? No, you asked if they could buy them all at once. I'm talking about if they hit the buy once and it automatically.
That would be a subscription service. When you buy things that haven't been released yet, it's called subscription.
I thought you meant like just buy them in bulk, not buy them months or when they come out weekly. All right.
This is like sitting in the back seat when mom and dad are arguing.
Yeah, I don't like when mom and daddy fight. If I was a smarter man, I would have worked out a way to do that. Drive-through has a subscription deal you can do. I've seen Steve Kenson use it before. I was just focusing on getting these books out and put together.
That is a very admirable goal, especially as a fan. Mm-hmm. I am a person who I know how to come back and buy my own books. I'm very good at that, as my credit card can attest to from this week.
So
I may have bought 10 books today.
So you mentioned that you tied into the game stuff. So are you going to be tying into any of the miniatures that some people like to paint at the game tables while their character can't die, and potentially be selling those in the magazines as well?
Not allowed to paint at the table.
I would love to do that. Don't have any current plans, although if there would be a way we could tie in like some STL files for 3D printers, they sell those on drive-thru. That could be fun. But I hadn't considered that yet.
I'm not trying to make more work for you. I'm just thinking outside the box here.
No, you want to make more work.
Yeah.
Mostly because I just don't know where the box is, but it works for me.
He is directionally challenged. Remember, he did go to military college.
Oh, hush. So so you've got right now however many issues you have stories submitted. Are you going to be opening for more stories going forward, or is what's submitted? How's that going to work?
Well, JR, if we get some positive fan response and people like it, and it seems to be, a small to moderate sized fan base, then I could see doing a second run, opening, having an open call for more writers and doing this again. If people hate it and chase us out of town, and throw things at us, then maybe not.
Okay, I don't think anyone would do that because Walt's murder dogs would eat them. So I'm pretty sure you're safe. But all right, so the trick to get more is to get people to participate and purchase the existing ones. That's generally how business works, I'm told. So what other kind of art have you contracted yet? All the art, or are you still like going through that? What do you got going on for art for later issues?
I decided to eschew going with traditional art, and I got mainly shadow puppets and tracing, some that like a 10-year-old kid did. And I'm kidding.
Did you let your hair do the art?
Ouch.
The door was right there. The shot had to be taken.
All right, people. This is why you come back every week.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
I can shoot you the covers. We got the first two up. People can see on the screen.
If you could share it on the screen, we can do it that way.
It's on the screen.
No, if he could share the new ones, if you wanted to sneak peek the later episodes or issues, not episodes.
You're issued.
I've got a Dropbox folder. It's got them all. I suppose we could share it there. Hang on, let me pull that up. So quick, someone talk about something else while I'm looking for this thing.
All right, Walt. So are you going to be adding any game content to this?
Wait, he just said speaking.
No, he said fill in the gap so he can pull up the data. He said, "Look, someone else talk." Doc,
should I be talking now or just shutting up?
All right. So,
please save JR from himself. I'm tired of doing it.
And that awkward pause. So, Walt, with any chance, since you are a legendary game designer yourself, of you adding game content as well as stories to these?
If somebody asked me to, and
I ask you to.
If I have the 5 minutes to do it.
You don't.
I really don't.
I mean, what's 5 more minutes of sleep?
I don't even have to look at your calendar. I know.
Yeah, you're not lying.
That is glorious. I like the little ones.
Yeah, let's see. I think issue 3 is this one here. That's by a Czech artist, David Bernarski. And let's see, can I blow that up a little bit? That is actually a science fiction Pony Express story. And
I love it. It reminds me of almost the Galaxy Rangers, the way you described it, the old cartoon show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Some Legend of Sleepy
Love
Hollow
that
going
show
on.
so much. It's a good show.
Let's see.
You disagree, you're wrong.
Okay, I'm liking this art.
Yeah, this
art is great.
Yeah. That's Jacob Blackman, friend of Walt and I's. This is the cover we got for Warfish.
I love it.
That's
Nice.
our story. Walt, do you remember the artist on this one?
I do not.
Yeah, we can get that for the show notes.
Ooh, that was dope.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
The Retirement of Harry Crane. I'm trying to remember the author. Yeah, Robert Greenberger. Yeah,
That's nice.
So you mentioned that you're going to do a compilation at the end. Will those have all the different covers in there inside, or will it have a separate cover? I mean, like, would that art be in all the art?
I need to talk to my layout guy and see what he has a tolerance for. Ideally, I would like to have all the art.
That may be like a high level of the thing.
Yeah, but
You know?
we've got great covers, we've got great art for the articles, and I'd like to have everything in there. I'm debating. We're probably going to have to break out the fiction from the gaming stuff at some point. I know there's just going to be a pure fiction anthology we publish on Kindle at some point, and I've had a few of the old White Star fans kind of get grumpy about, I don't want to buy an eZine, I just want my gaming content. Rawr, give it to me. Rawr. So.
Yes, send it to them, and then they can print it out.
Well, it isn't.
I'm so tolerant.
So, is there an opportunity for someone who just says that art for that cover is so amazing, I want to print it and frame it on my wall? Are you going to be selling the ability to buy prints?
A lot of this stuff I don't have the rights to. Like for instance, this right here is the cover of the J.R. Handley issue.
Brago, go figure.
Yeah, we got some cool stock art for that, and I have rights to publish it. I don't have rights to do prints of it. So
okay,
but so yeah, that's where we are in that. Some of them, like the covers we've commissioned, the one for the Pony Express story you saw, and the one with the lady playing guitar. So maybe in the future, why not beer cozies, t-shirts, onesies. This was a cover that Jacob Blackman did for us.
Oh, that is awesome.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, kind of a minimalist space western kind of thing. So,
and whose story is in that one?
Let's look. I believe this was Michael Jan Friedman. Yeah, this was a guy who did an episode of Voyager, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and yeah, incredible writer, fun story. So yeah, we've got a bunch of these. Walt actually did a third story for us, not set in the Hunter's Moon setting, I don't think. Kind of a Doom homage to a company, adventure Jason Sunday, another friend of the podcast, had put together. So,
okay,
yeah, Jason was pretty cool because he's like, hey, would you look over this White Star adventure for me? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I asked him, I said, did you have a story that he paired with this? And he's like, oh, not yet. I don't think he has. And I don't think you had a story for that one lined up yet.
Nope, we did not.
So I said, I have this short story that that I had tried to sell, but it was supposed to go to a space opera anthology, and they were like, look, the story's really good, but this is military science fiction, so we can't really use it in this anthology. So it sat around for a little while, and I said, this particular story would go really well with your adventure. So it's kind of like imagine like the 1986 Aliens mixed with Event Horizon.
Ooh!
Oh, fun!
Yeah, it's really, really dark and demonic, but like outer space. I do light and funny too. Sometimes it's just I only do that for me and my dogs.
All right, so just so you know, because you talked about stories that sat around for a while, the stories that Walt and I wrote for the After anthology, we got permission for an anthology I'll be putting out later this year to actually post those, because I had them sitting around and why not use them. So you'll get to see his story about that, because Walt's going to dig it out, dust it off, and hand it over. Yeah. So I know, Mike, you are a busy man, and you've got that meeting.
I've got 2 more covers.
Oh, okay.
Literally just came in from J.E. Shields doing the trade dress.
Oh,
Doc, this was.
I know that cover.
Yep, this is the one that Mel Todd submitted. Flame
I
of the
know,
Rescue.
it's so cool. I love it.
So
we can
that
tell
is,
she likes it.
yeah, that's our friend John Gibbons did that. And
I
It's
love
art
it.
for
I
the
think
after,
it
didn't he?
is so badass.
John created the after and did all the art
Okay,
for it.
I thought his name sounded familiar.
Yeah, he's a man of many talents. He comes up with ideas, does art. Recently added a bar to his house. So
Don't forget the van.
he converted a van. And here is the cover for the story I'm doing. The easy job.
Oh, I
Ooh,
like that.
Granthanite. Sorry.
Grant the
Is that a
Night.
Minotaur?
No, it's a Granthanite.
Okay.
It looks like a Minotaur, but it's a Granthanite. This was kind of inspired by a game of Pew Pew, which is a rules light sci-fi game we played on the podcast a few months back. Once again, David Bednarski, my Czech artist friend, did this, and good lord, look! I love that. I love the art. But yeah, so we got a bunch of issues. These last two covers you saw are still in layout, trying to put them all together. My layout guy took a vacation to Switzerland, so it kind of delayed some. Because he can't just do layout for me. So
not until people buy a lot more magazines. So you heard it, people. You know what to do.
electronic magazines, sir, please.
Oh, eZines. I'm sorry. I got to get the terminology right. Jeez. All right. So if people wanted to learn more about the legendary Mike Lafferty, how might they find you on the wild, wild webs?
Well, don't Google my name because there's a bunch of stories there that need context. Really.
I understand this problem, for the record.
You can find me on Twitter. Fainting Games is the publishing. Fainting. Yeah, no, just on Twitter. I'm just Fainting Games.
Really? Yeah.
Well, there was a Fainting Goat Games, but it got hacked, and now it belongs to some Brazilians who just advertise cell phone stuff on there. So yeah, there's. So yeah, at Fainting Games on Twitter, or I'm Fainting Goat Games on Facebook, or BAMF Podcast on Twitter or Facebook. And I haven't done Instagram yet because I'm a 49-year-old man and I'm not allowed to.
Okay.
That's
Fair.
where you can find me. And we'll be posting updates as things are released weekly here for at least a while. So, and Walt is pretty much everywhere on the internet. You have to work hard to not know who Walt is.
So Walt, where are those places on the internet you frequent the most?
Your show.
This is true. You are a repeat customer. I mean, at this point, we ought to give you admin privileges.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Nick Garber would get jealous. He doesn't have them yet.
I need to sleep.
Where is Nick? I thought he was going to be here tonight. Did I scare him off?
He said he wasn't going to get home from work in time because that whole West Coast thing.
I thought he was in Texas.
No, he's in California.
Oh, okay, good for him.
I'm not sure where he is.
He gets confused. He gets lost. So Walt, you said besides Hazard Studios for your website, where else were you on the interwebs?
Well, if you just go to Hazard Studio, there's a bunch of little links, and you can do like that, and it'll send you to all the different places.
Now, to get there, do you have to make the noises too?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's also Wargate Books. You can find me there. You can find me up and around all the Galaxy's Edge places. So, yeah, and anything like that, represent.
And we will link all of those in the show notes, people. So check them out. And before we let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So do the thing, people. Now, the places where you're selling these eZines, see, I got it right this time. Can they review them there? Is that possible?
Yes, we have 1 5-star review already. So yes, please log in, say nice things about us. Okay.
And you can find us on all the cool places, like on Twitter, where we are SF_fantasy_show, twitter.com/SF_SF_fantasy_show. I blame Doc for that mess up. I'm sure it's her fault somehow. You can email the show at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, where all the shenanigans happen, at facebook.com/groups/blastersandbladespodcast. Again, /groups/blastersandbladespodcast, where we will share the Kickstarter and all the cool links for all these cool eZines because they look awesome. We do have a website, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades, where you can also support us for as little as 99 cents a month. You can help keep the lights on, or you can support the show at buymeacoffee.com /author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com /author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts, Doc Cisca and Nick Garber, duly intoxicated. They will drink until their liver surrenders.
Never surrender. JR, you
And that
need
was
to send
perfect
her a boot.
timing to empty. See, now you got to support because she's out of booze, people.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but Doc was mouthing your words as you were saying them.
She does it every week. It's part of her charm.
Okay.
She's a ventriloquist. All right, Doc, bring us home.
Where is her hand?
What?
Sorry. She said you're a ventriloquist, and that's why your lips were moving. And I was like, "Where's her hand?" And okay, all right,
I'm magic.
all right.
Family-friendly show, people.
What?
I said we were trying to be a family-friendly show.
Thank you for spending some of your precious time with us for the absentee Nick Garber and JR Handley, the messed up one. I am Cisca. This was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, where we will indulge our love of torturing JR, geeky nerddom, fandom, and all things in between, but mostly torturing JR.
Thanks for having us on. It was a good time.
Thank you guys. It was fabulous.
All right.